This is Riju from Sportskeeda. I recently caught up with the star of the 83 Weeks podcast, Eric Bischoff, and you can check out snippets of our chat right here. Having worked backstage at both WWE and AEW, how would you compare the vibe between both of these companies?
There is no comparison. AEW is much more fun. It is much more. Well, I mean, look. I mean, it is what it is. They're younger talent. It's a smaller company. They're a newer company. There's a camaraderie and a spirit of collaboration, which I find in a creative environment is absolutely necessary. That same spirit of collaboration doesn't really exist in WWE. WWE is like a factory, whereas AEW is more like an art studio.
Wow.
And when it comes to creative. So there is really no comparison. Of the two, I would be much more comfortable in an AEW environment because great ideas come from collaboration. They don't come from a factory. The energy is different. The ideas are different because the energy is different. There's no comparison between the two environments. And I'm not being critical of the WWE. One of the reasons why WWE is the factory it is because of the massive amount of television content that they produce. AEW doesn't have to produce that much television. So they have the ability to be more focused and not have to get as many things accomplished in a given week. So it's not a criticism, it's just a reality of the difference between the two companies. But the backstage area in AEW it's a great environment, it's exciting, and like I say, it's energy and the spirit of collaboration makes all the difference in the world. That's where the best ideas come from.
Just to build on this point, you said that they don't have to make a lot of television, but there's talk about a second TV show coming. Do you foresee that as a Thunder type of scenario?
I would be very careful with him. I've said this before. Be careful what you wish for. You may find you wished you hadn't wished for it. Let's put it that way. It can change things. It can be better. It can increase revenues because of television licensing and opportunities and things like that. And that's always a good thing. It's a necessary thing. I understand that, but my own experience, and I think even the experience in WWE, I think one of the big challenges that WWE has right now is the fact that they have two separate brands, and they have to try to keep those brands different. Once you have two different shows and they start feeling the same, you really have one show, and you can dilute the audience. That's a risk. Now, AEW has the ability to overcome that. They saw what happened to WCW. I think they probably saw what's happened with WWE and understand that challenge. And if they can overcome that challenge, it can be a wonderful thing. If they don't overcome that challenge and they experience the same types of challenges, it can be a burden. So only time will tell.
So if Tony Khan called you and he asked you for advice on what to do right and what not to do wrong with a new promotion like his, what advice would you give him?
I think in a general sense, I would advise Tony to be careful about managing expectations and be very careful about trying to be competitive with the WWE. And I understand the enthusiasm, and it's justifiable. AEW has done a tremendous job in a very, very short period of time. But when people in AEW, or even fans, try to compare AEW to WWE, there really is no comparison. AEW is a young company, and they're growing, and they're developing, and they're doing a great job, but they are by no means in the same class in terms of size and worldwide audience and financial success as the WWE. So I think maintaining their own identity and maintaining their enthusiasm and maintaining their energy and all of that is a great thing. But I would manage expectations and take advantage of the fact that they are the underdog. The world always wants to see an underdog win. And the more they try to compete with WWE or try to communicate that they're on equal footing to WWE and doing some of the same things that WWE is doing, for example, Shaquille O'Neal. I used Shaquille O'Neal for the very first time in wrestling in 1994.
Right.
Snoop Dogg has been around a long time and has done a lot of things in WWE and is in the WWE Hall of Fame. So that's nothing new. I would look for I would advise AEW to find new ways and different ways that haven't been done before to establish themselves. And if they're going to use celebrities, that's great. I'm a big believer in using celebrities. But using Mike Tyson, who was, in WWE back in 1997 or whatever it was, 1998, again, using Shaquille O'Neal, who I used in 1994, using Snoop Dogg, who's already been exposed quite a bit on WWE, those aren't new ideas.
Right.
So I would advise them to manage their own expectations, develop their own identity, and to look for a new way of presenting the product. Look for a new way to grow the audience as opposed to trying to replicate formulas that worked in the past. Please, you can find me wherever you get your favorite podcasts, 83 Weeks with Eric Bischoff, and definitely want to invite the listeners to adfreeshows.com. There's a plethora, I love using that word, a plethora of great talent and great content over at adfreeshows.com. Myself, Tony Schiavone, Jim Ross, Arn Anderson, just a ton of great talent. We've got some new content that we do every single week. We're producing new content, as well as your ability to listen to the podcast without having to listen to any of the ads. So either adfreeshows.com, or if you want to listen to the podcast, 83 Weeks with Eric Bischoff, wherever you get your favorite podcast.